Translucent doesn't even mean invisible. It means semi-transparent.
Shut-ins Unplugged, your favorite talk show, just in podcast form. We got games, we got news, we got everything you need, and we're starting right now.
Yo, I do be going to class.
Lunch is not a class, shorty.
It is when you got the munchies.
What is happening, people? We're here. We're ready to talk movies. Shut-ins Unplugged. With me today,
it's just me, Zach Gerchuk.
Hey, Zach.
Brendan's a dork.
Brendan's not a dork.
Brendan's a dork.
Brendan just had other priorities right now.
We dropped him. Put him back in the closet.
We put him back. Yeah, he's eating old jambalaya from Crispy Crunchy again.
From 8 years ago.
So we're going to be talking movies today. Or a movie specifically that we went and saw.
One singular individual movie.
One single movie that we went and saw.
We both loved a lot.
It was. I can't wait to actually talk further about it with you, because we talked a little bit after the movie, but I think we knew that we were going to do a podcast, so we might as well just wait.
Yeah, we waited on it, hoping that Brendan would be here, but this is Brendan's podcast.
We thought that Brendan would be willing to talk about this movie too. We had a completely different plan, but
yeah, we got to skirt. We got to talk about this movie carefully, though.
Someone in the chat said, "No, Brendan, unfollowed."
Who's the
Saul
username?
Goodman? I don't know who that is. Is that Brendan? Brendan, get off the stream.
That might be Brendan.
Brendan, get off the stream.
Brendan's either Saul Goodman or something worse. It's something. I know it's something amongst the lines of Okay, whatever.
Okay,
anyway,
but today we're going to be talking about Infinity Pool.
Yippee. I kind of ruined the bomb with the yippee.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We do play it again.
Sorry. Today we're going to be talking about Infinity Pool. Yeah, baby!
Let's go. I'll say, what else did you know about the movie going into it? Was it just what we had talked about on Shut-ins that while ago?
Yeah, we talked about
announced?
the trailer and how it was kind of confusing, because I wanted to go into it blind. So I watched the first trailer, but I never watched any other trailers for it, which that's kind of the same rules I follow for any movie that comes out. Mm-hmm. But I watched the first trailer, and so I was like, you know what, I'll go into it blind. You know, I know they're on vacation, and that's all I need to know.
Where I was at was I knew a little bit more than you did, because on the AMC app they had a description that I just happened to take a glance at.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the description is not what I thought the movie was going to be, because it made it sound like it was it delves deep into hedonism and blah blah and all this other stuff. So I kind of thought it was going to be maybe somewhat generic thing of they're at a resort on this place that they're not from. There's a cult that they're dragged into or something.
Yeah,
which that isn't completely wrong, but it's in the description does a good job at hiding what the movie's actually about.
Yeah, so that is the basic premise of Infinity Pool.
Mm-hmm. I did it.
We got the stream deck back. It's working in the podcast booth again, so
we're ecstatic.
I'm loving my life right now. This is great.
No, I'm ecstatic.
So happy.
Just know that we're gonna get this thing loaded up with sound effect. We're gonna have 6 sound effect folders.
We're gonna
for constant noise.
Every time I say Infinity Pool, I'm gonna use this one from now on.
I wish we had a wow button every time we said Mia Goth.
Mia Goth, wow.
Because Mia Goth. Okay, so
wait, who again?
Mia Goth.
Even better.
I forget the name of the character. My thing is, I'm really bad at remembering names of characters.
It was James Stewart.
James Stewart, and what's the actor's name again?
Oh, that's Alexander Skarsgård.
He did great in this movie.
He did so good. He's a great actor in general.
Exactly.
I really like him as an actor just wholeheartedly, so I'm all for him in general. So this movie was really solid, especially since Mia Goth, I knew of her, obviously, but she really came into fruition via horror movies this year or this past year.
Yeah, because X and then
X and Pearl
and now we have this.
Yeah, and she's phenomenal. I hope she sticks with horror movies another great thing is the horror movies she's in are pretty messed up. Yeah,
and they're pretty messed up, and I feel like they've gotten better as the more she's in, the better the movies are.
Yeah,
because X was pretty good. Not my favorite thing in the world.
X wasn't terrible. I really liked
it,
it, but I don't think the movie itself was great. I just loved the fact that it felt like an old 70s I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but it felt like an old 70s horror movie where an exploit film. That's what it felt like.
It felt like an exploit film, but all the characters had actual depth.
Yeah,
is,
like
that is if you have to give X anything, it's character depth.
Oh yeah, because like, say what you will about Kid Cudi, like as a person, or whatever. Because I know tabloids and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff going on with Kid Cudi, and apparently he's a meanie. But he actually did really well in this film, and like, yeah. Even the part where you see him pantsless. He's
really good in that.
Go Kid Cudi, apparently.
And then Pearl. I actually liked Pearl a lot. It was actually a really interesting,
Pearl was phenomenal.
Great film.
Pearl was not what I expected it to be.
The credits were haunting.
Yes.
And then this movie is like, it's one of my favorite movies of this year.
Different breed.
And I know we're only like a month in, but still, I hope if I don't know if a movie can come as close, like horror movie wise, to how much I like this. So Scream has some competition.
I think we're gonna have some candidates this year.
Yeah.
But as of right now, this is not even just horror. Like movies alone, this is my favorite movie of the year so far.
Blood and Honey and Cocaine Bear coming out.
I'm gonna be real with you. Blood and Honey stands no chance against Infinity Pool.
Dude, what are you talking about?
I'm excited for the film, but I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be that good.
But what if it is?
Oh, if it is, I'll eat my words. I'll come on the podcast and even beg for forgiveness to the directers.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
It was Pete.
I didn't mean to.
That's gonna be a fun movie though, and then
it'll be a lot of fun.
Cocaine Bear is.
Cocaine Bear. The people who are making Blood and Honey are making a Peter Pan one.
Yeah.
And they said that they want it to come out by the end of this year, but who knows what happens? They're a small production company, so we'll see what happens. Which
so you never.
Well, that's fine though. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna do that either. I hope Peter Pan's the villain, not Captain Hook. That'd be pretty sick.
It's a horror movie where Captain Hook, immortal boy flies through the air. Like,
just have Dustin Hoffman return as Captain Hook like he did in Hook.
In Hook.
But before we go further on Infinity Pool, I do want to give one thing, and that is a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the movie yet, please see the movie and then return to the podcast later on. Let us know what you thought in the comments, whatnot. I don't want to spoil anything, especially if you're an avid horror fan like we are. I want you to go into it with a fresh set of eyes, no spoilers whatsoever. Side note before we keep going too, shout out Robbie, who was looking at the plot summary mid-movie on his phone.
Was he really?
Yes, I leaned over.
Robbie, I hate you.
I leaned over and I was like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I just looked up the plot summary." I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know where they're going next." And I was like, "Watch the movie then."
He's a goofball.
Yeah, bless you, Rob. But so let's go into it.
So first off, let's talk about who made it, because that was what made it. Oh, that was what interested us immediately when we were in there.
When we were talking, the second we talked about the movie, we were interested just based off the writer and director alone, and that is Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg. And me and Zach were also talking about it right before the movie. Like, we expected some influence from his father, being he is the son of David Cronenberg, but we knew there was going to be something different about it too. Because David Cronenberg, the king of body horror,
Scanners,
his practical effects are always just insane, along with just the concept of completely mutilating the human body. Scanners, The Fly. He helped with special effects on The Thing, didn't he?
You think I know that? It's like my favorite horror movie ever. I actually don't know. I would say
I think he did,
maybe.
but I'm not going to take that with a grain of salt.
I would be surprised if he wasn't at least consulted.
Yeah.
About it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, take that with a grain of
salt. He's so good at
salt.
body horror. It'd be like a shame not to be like, "Hey, what do you think we should do?" And actually ring this up, and then it looks like this, and it's like, I don't know why that's why I think Cronenberg sounds like in my head. Would Jay ring this up?
Man, that was spot on. Me and Cronenberg actually go way back, and that was pretty spot on.
I'll have to meet him. But like, should we talk about like where the departure is from his father first, or should we get to that later?
Let's go into it as we get further into the actual film, because like I said, we went into it pretty blind.
Yeah.
And so from the start, I don't know how to say this. From the start, it starts off like pretty dark and dreadful already, even before anything like actually happens. And it's because, do you remember the name of the country? Because
no,
it was one I had never heard of it before, but so go ahead and look that up while I'm talking. So they're at a third world country, a pretty poor country, at this resort that was made, and the whole premise starts off with like, you're not supposed to leave the resort, you're supposed to stay on the resort, they got everything you need there, and they're getting ready to do this little like celebration thing that they do every year before what they call rainy season.
It's called Lakota.
Lakota, cool. So pretty much, they're getting ready to celebrate the rainy season. That's where you see these weird masks that like the staff are wearing. It starts off in the hotel room in the pitch black, and you just hear the main character James Alexander Skarsgård and his wife Em. They're sitting there talking about getting breakfast or whatever. And then they're downstairs for breakfast, and he's a writer. Is kind of like why they're taking the vacation is because he had
writer's block and needed inspo.
Yeah, and so they're pretty much on vacation, and he wanted inspiration / just wanted to get away from the real world. And his wife's like, "Well, what do you say we go into town and try out that Chinese place and so on and so forth?"
Like,
and he's just like, "Nah, I'm good. I'd rather just do nothing all day."
Yeah. Then suddenly.
And then he runs into Mia Goth.
Plays Gabby?
Yes.
Gabby, and I think her husband is like not
Albin.
Alvin. It's Albin, not Alvin. Yeah.
It's Gabby and Albin. Yep. I remember that now.
Yeah.
But he runs into Gabby first, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, James Stewart, like I'm such a big fan of your work. I loved your book that you made, and I've been waiting for a sequel forever." And insert more fluffing, because she was just trying to get his attention pretty much. But and so he meets her husband also, and they go on vacation there every year, same time every year. And so he invites them, or they invite him and his wife to go out to dinner with them. They become friends, and they're like, "Hey, we know a super special spot we can go to tomorrow if you guys are in." And so they go to the super special spot, but it's outside the resort. They borrow a car from one of the workers there, and they go have a good time. And from there, like, it seems pretty innocent until they like get there. Because they have like a little handy grill with them, like you'd take camping.
Yeah.
And Albin's making sausages, and it's fine. It's essentially making hot dogs while camping or whatever.
Yeah.
And but he's really adamant on people eating sausages.
He's like, "Yeah, if you don't eat, I might have to eat your balls or something."
Something like that.
Something weird. It was a really weird tangent.
Albin is weird from the get-go, but you think it's just because he's older.
Yeah, I remember because
the age difference between Gabby and Albin is significant.
Me and Ben were sitting right next to each other, and me and Ben were like continuously through the movie, like, what the?
Yeah, like
ugh.
Even at the weirdest parts, Albin makes it weirder because he says out of pocket stuff.
He says something out of pocket, or he does something out of pocket.
Exactly.
Like in the most out of pocket scene of the movie, he is the most out of pocket out of the bunch.
Yeah, he's the weirdest one.
It's honestly, he's a great. He's funny in the movie.
Yeah, he was a great character to have. Like, the movie would not have been the same without that weirdo being around. Mm-hmm. Because at first you think that he's gonna end up doing even more weird stuff. Because while they're out. Are they at a beach or something? I don't know.
They're like at like beachside.
Yeah, because you don't really see them like swimming or anything. You just see them sunbathing.
Honestly, it's just kind of like generic, like island location.
Yeah,
that's kind of like the point, I think.
Yeah, and so James at one point is peeing. Mm-hmm. He's like in this. It almost looks like a cave. But it's like just like this little area, and he's just peeing on the rocks. And Gabby shows up.
Out of pocket scene number 1.
And Gabby shows up. Once again, Gabby played by Mia Goth. And she shows up and just walks up behind him, and mid pee, just grabs his junk, and just
starts going at it.
Just gives him a little hand jibber just cause.
And he's acting like he's getting stabbed in the stomach.
Oh yeah,
I don't actually. I don't know what.
Let's not mimic him.
Let's not mimic him. But just imagine getting stabbed in the stomach. What noise you'd make? That's the noises he's making.
Yeah, and I will say though, he acted it out very well. Like,
I believe
for lack of better words, you can tell that James and M's relationship is
strained.
Yeah, it's something's going on between them. You don't ever know what though. But that scene, like, Alexander Skarsgård does a really good job of acting like touch deprived, and so that's kind of why he makes the noises he does.
Yeah.
But that's like super weird. But you think it's like a just between them thing, and that's kind of where like I thought the movie was like gonna get like not weirder, but like that's where like the plot was gonna start coming in, because I was like, oh no, Albin's gonna find out or something like that, or it's going to become a big plot thing later on. Because once we got to that part, I was thinking, oh, they're outside of the resort. There's going to be like a cult or like a group of locals that like attack them.
That's what I thought too after reading the description. I was like, okay, so for sure they never make it back, and then they just get into some weird like Far Cry Outlast kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that same thoughts came right to me. But then they leave later that night, and Albin's like, I'm too drunk to drive. And James is like, I'll drive then. And so James is driving, and he's like, I can't tell if he's just trying to focus or if he's like falling asleep at the wheel. It looks like he's like getting sleepy because like he keeps like rubbing his eyes or straining.
He's like straining, and then the lights start flickering.
Yeah, the headlights on the car like start going out, and so like
he's never explained, because that was just like a coincidence, right?
Like, yeah, that's what it was. Because we'll talk about it
later. But
we'll talk about it later. But it was a coincidence. But James ends up hitting someone. Like farmer is who it was. It was a farmer. Yeah, it was a farmer, and this is like the first little piece of like Cronenberg you get from it when you see the body, because his head is just like mutilated from hitting the car so hard. And it was really good practical effects the whole film, by the way. But he hits someone, and Gabby and Albin are like, no, don't go to the cops. This is a poor country. Instead of putting you in jail, they will just kill you on the spot just because, et cetera, et cetera. They're like, let's just drive away. We'll tell the guy that we borrowed the car from that it was an act, that we hit a tree or something, and, you know, we'll pay for the damages and move on. And so they get back to the hotel. But then the next morning, James gets arrested by the police of the country. Lakota, you said?
Yes, Lakota.
Yeah, so the Lakotan police come in and arrest James, and this is where it begins. Yeah, when James hit the farmer, I was like, I literally leaned over and looked at Dane, and I said, "Oh my gosh, are they recreating I Know What You Did Last Summer?" But no, this is where it really gets weird. And so they come in and they're talking. They're like, here in Lakota, we have traditions, and like our government's not the same as in America. You know, we can't just give you jail time for killing someone. They said the eldest son of the victim is allowed to come in and kill you in return, an eye for an eye. And James starts freaking out because I don't know why the guy did this, but the guy's like, well, and also in the case that they don't have any children, we will just kill you in front of the widow. And James is like, oh my God, no, don't kill me.
He's bugging.
Well, I don't blame him.
Yeah, especially because earlier they were like, I've already forgetting the characters' names. Oh my gosh. Oh my. Gabby and Albin were like, the police, they are barbaric.
They're like, they'll kill you on the spot.
They'll kill you. They'll do all these bad things to you. And then they get separated. So he's like, my wife, what are they doing to my? So he's just bugging out the whole time.
Yeah. And so, but then they're like, unless we have a proposition for you. And here at this point, I'm lost.
Yeah.
You know, I think everyone was. You know, we're all just sitting there like, what is going on?
You're definitely in like the main character's shoes.
Yeah, and like, because we're just as confused as he is. And so they give this solution to this, which is apparently what all like tourists, I guess is the word to use. Tourists.
People from other nations.
Yeah.
Like the black community.
Specifically rich tourists / visitors. This is what they normally do to get out of this. They have high technology that can create a perfect clone of you. And they're like, you let us do this. Give us this some amount of money, which is a whole lot. Give us this some amount of money. We'll make the clone of you. we'll let the eldest son, kill the clone, and you are scot-free. And you're just like, what? So, they strip James butt naked, put a swim cap on him, shove him into this room with a mouth with
that game where you're like,
yeah, what is that game? The thing that makes you look like this.
The thing that like holds your mouth open like this, and like you can't close it. You're supposed to you're supposed to speak weird with it.
Yeah.
That he just goes in there like looking all goofy.
Yeah, he looks,
and it's really like uncomfortable to look at.
Yeah, because like normally I'd laugh at something like that, but this whole time I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, I was laughing.
Well, I laughed when they first put it in because he's just like,
once he gets in the room, you're like, okay.
Because like they shove him in there and he's like this like brown, like reddish brown colored sludge is in there.
Goop is just, all up in the room.
And you just see him step in it and you're like, oh, gross. And it starts it fills, right? It just starts filling the whole chamber. And before you see it like completely encompass him, there's like this really like trippy, like psychedelic scene.
Goes on for like a minute straight?
Yeah, which
seizure warning.
I was gonna say they do say that at the beginning of the film too. They have
happens.
an epilepsy warning, and like it's just bizarre to say the least. But at the end of it, he wakes up and it's his wife sitting there with him in the bed, and she's like, "They're downstairs waiting for you. It all went perfectly." And they take him into this room, and he sees this clone for the first time, or what do they call them in the movie again? Alternates.
I'll because it's a term that they really don't like. That's a duplicate.
That's what it is, a duplicate.
I was like, alternate. That's the MCU, Bucko.
My bad. They see variants of each other. But so he goes into this like room and he's like in a latex box. And only his head is showing, like his face.
It's almost like a cocoon almost.
Yeah, it's like a cocoon made out of like latex almost. It's like the same color as the sludge. Yeah. So that's probably how it's done. And so he sees it and it's like, you can tell it really like messes with him. Mm-hmm. And then you see this duplicate drug into this execution room and it looks like an old farm. And he's like wearing this gown that has like this giant hole in the torso area. And then you see a 12-year-old boy come out and just stab him. And same noises, when him and Mia Goth decided to have a little hanky-panky while he was peeing. He's making the same noises when he gets stabbed in the stomach. So full circle.
Yeah, that's the first time I looked over at Ben. I was like, it was probably a bad comment to make, but I was like, dang, Mia Goth was that bad that getting stabbed in the stomach is the exact same. I was like, that's terrible. I said, my man is going through the ringer right now. But like, that scene, because he smiles there at the end, right? Like after he sees his duplicate get stabbed in the stomach, he like smiles.
Yeah, he has like this weird, like creepy, The Shining Twins smirk on his face.
So at that point, I was like, oh, okay, so this is gonna be a duplicates.
Yeah, they accidentally switched him with the duplicate.
Yeah, or like they did it on purpose. The whole island's duplicates, and and then it's gonna shift. But nope,
no,
not at all.
They send the duplicate's ashes home with him in an urn.
Think of it as a souvenir, and that part made me laugh. That was pretty funny.
That was really funny because at first I was just like, ugh, and then when you see him actually take it with him,
he sets it on the counter, like, all right.
And so this is where the movie like really just like goes bonkers, and that is the wife is like, let's go home. I don't want to be here anymore. That was too much for me. And he's like, well, I don't have my passport, and so he goes downstairs to figure that out, and that's where he runs into Gabby and Albin again, and they're like, well, we can help you, and that's there's so much going on.
He goes down there through the counter.
Oh yeah, he's talking to the guy at the counter.
And then it's like, you can extend your room, and he just goes ahead and spends. Because by the way, he's like a failing author.
Oh yeah, he's a failed author. His money is his wife's money.
He spends his wife's money on, I don't know if it's wife. I think it might be girlfriend.
No, they're married.
Are they married?
Mm-hmm.
And they spend it. He spends it without asking, and that comes up later.
Yeah.
He makes a comment later. But then Gabby's like, oh, I'll explain everything, and then they explain it.
That's what it is.
And then she brings him to the room with all these other people, including Albin, that have also turned out have experienced the same thing, and they're like, yeah, it's a club, exclusive members club. It's so awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is. They get taken to like this group of people who just do this every year for their vacation.
Show up, kill somebody,
Come
do
down,
some
commit crimes.
clone.
I mean, because it's not even just killing people; it's just committing any crimes that this happens.
Yeah, it's just like it's clearly it's like an allegory for like like how rich people get away with everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But it's like it serves
because that's what happens is the second time he's in the room with a group of people and they're like, well, you know who sold you out, right? The guy who had that car. And so they're like, let's go break in his house and take him out. So they break into the house and a cop ends up coming up and arresting them all. And this part really not only got me, but also made me laugh super hard is they're all sitting there in like the gowns and stuff waiting for the whole like duplicate process. Mm-hmm. And they're all just like dicking around, goofing off and whatnot. And James is like freaking out again because he's like, oh my gosh. And a cop comes in. He's like, you guys have done this for too much, like for too long. It's time to make an example out of you guys. And you see them just drag all of them into this room. And then James tries to break free and like gets in a fight with one of them. And they hold him down. They slit his throat. And you're like, oh, no duplicate for James again. And then you just hear clapping. And it's all of them sitting in like the little bleacher section again.
For a better execution, for a better show.
Yeah, and that's what it was.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, because at first I was like, oh no.
I was like, who's the main character now? Gabby? Oh.
Mia Goth?
Mia Goth?
But and like, man, that really got me. And it kind of just shows like how like sick that these people really are since they keep doing this to each other or to themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
And it just keeps happening. Just keeps happening essentially. And and like, they're goofing around, acting like the resort is theirs. They're literally acting like seniors in high school going to the middle school to do something. Like they act like they're top dogs around there. They're like throwing grapes at people at lunch. And one of them is like, hey, James, I can help you with your passport problem. And it's like, and then they're like,
it's
what?
This guy.
Yeah, they're
like,
we
gotta go after this guy.
Yeah, and they're like, this guy is actually the reason why you can't get your passport. He's stopping everything. And they're like, okay, let's kidnap him and beat him up.
I forgot. I forgot this is one. This is
oh,
the
man.
Other. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh wait, this is. Sorry, I forgot to mention the important part before this.
Yeah.
Before they start goofing around and bossing around the resort, Mia Goth takes James. It's just them alone in a hotel room, and she's like, "This is the psychedelic drug that the people of Lakota use, and it's perfectly legal because it's considered a type of prayer." So they do this drug. They start getting nasty with it.
Yeah, and then
it turns into, and then Albin shows up.
Shows up at the weirdest
angle.
Oh
yeah, so
because that's funny because even the most out of pocket weird scene,
yeah,
Albin made it so
as
much weirder.
Exactly, as anti-graphic as I can get. Real quick, put it this way: they're doing the nasty. And the camera just pans down like away from them, and you're like, okay, I don't have to sit and watch this the whole time. And Albin is just there, staring at them. It's just like
at the edge of the bed, like a puppy dog.
Yeah, like a dog waiting to hop in to lay down.
And then we get a long sequence of everybody.
We get a really long, like psychedelic, like acid trip. It's like a good 5 minutes or so, and it starts off as like some like really like messed up, twisted like orgy, if I'm allowed to say that.
Oh, we'll find out.
But and then it's really weird. Like it's weird, and it like turns into something weirder. Like it turns into like it has like everyone like on their knees, like in a line, and then Mia Goth is just like standing there naked.
Yeah,
and they're like praising her or something. It's weird.
Yeah, it's well, because like after we re-describe the whole movie, we're gonna have to talk about Mia Goth because Mia Goth is like the villain.
Yeah,
almost.
She's like the ringleader of this whole thing.
She's like the ringleader, yeah. It's weird, but regardless. But then after that,
but this is where we get Brandon Cronenberg.
Yeah,
and that is this whole like psychedelic thing encapsulates like this weird power struggle, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
it's like seeing James like submit to being a follower just like the others.
Yeah,
and then we get extra Cronenberg-y with this practical effects when it like does a really close zoom in on Mia Goth's boobs, and like long story short, the practical effects just are super weird. Like
Yeah.
it's super gross and creepy, but like well done.
Yeah, I don't
If
want
that's
to.
a
I don't
wa-
want to describe it. 'Cause
I don't want to say like
go watch the movie.
I don't want to be like, oh man, I love that scene, but also at the same time, I got to give him credit because
Yeah,
like
let me say, I didn't like looking at it, but that was the point.
you can't
So it is
deny
a
that it
really
wasn't done
good-
well.
It's like it was a really good scene done really well.
Yes.
But I was just like, because our review in bed it was because it was a throwback. We saw another movie. Look at each other. And went, ugh. It was like.
That's what it was.
gross.
Because like, for a little bit of context, Robbie doesn't do horror movies really well. So we're sitting there, and there's like the most minor of jump scares in this film. Like, and it's just the sounds. Like when James sees his first duplicate, and he opens his eyes, and the music just goes. Whoop! Robbie goes. Ah! And they jump.
There's a gunshot.
Oh yeah, there's a gun. The gunshot got other people too, not just Robbie. Ben, I saw Ben jump at the
It
gunshot.
got me ever so like, because like I mean, like, when we went and saw another movie, there was a gunshot. Like of course,
if it's sudden, it'll get you. But so those are like the only things that really made Robbie jump. But I'm sitting here and we're watching the scene and I'm thinking to myself, gross, gross, gross. This is so gross. But then I'm like, why is it done really well though? But then you just hear Robbie like, oh, he's like over there just like retching almost, like he's like looking away, and I'm like, it's not that bad, Robbie.
It's not that, Robbie. You know it's a movie, right? You know it's fake, right?
Yeah, but and so that's when we get to the next part where they're throwing grapes at people at lunch, walking around hooping and hollering, just being delinquents almost. And that's when the one guy's like, James, I can help you out with your passport situation. My son is whatever. And then he's like, oh, turns out this specific guy who works for the military or whatever, he's the reason why you can't get any help. And so they're like, let's kidnap him. So they go to they
go to some place.
Do they steal the police van? I don't know. They take a car to the place and they're like,
they get stuff.
yeah, and they're like,
I don't think
yeah,
they ever explained it.
and they're
really.
like,
They just get
James,
it.
you hang out outside and keep watch. And so James is doing that. He almost gets hit by a car.
By a police car.
Yeah, he almost gets hit by a police car, and they're just like, get out of the road. But they put a bag over the dude's head and load him into like a police van, and they all head back. And so they have James like doing that drug again and drinking liquor, and he starts wailing into this dude. He kept the bag over his head and just starts laying into him, just beating his ass, basically.
Just ultra combo on him.
Pretty much. Just whooping on him.
He really started. Then he started peeing on him.
Oh yeah, he whips.
Then everybody started peeing on him.
And then they peel off the mask, and it's another duplicate of James. And so that really messes with James. Like, he can watch his duplicate get killed by someone else and be fine, but like he literally just basically he beat himself up.
Yeah.
And peed on himself, and it's gross. And so like he runs away. And he goes back to his room and he locks the door, and it's really inappropriate. But Mia Goth's character is the one to try to come in and talk him out of hiding.
I know. Are you yawning? Are you crying over? I can't see your face.
Both. I was hiding. Sorry.
And then Mia Goth.
No, I
I
was hiding a yawn, but I didn't want to like yawn into the microphone.
You were like, it's really gross.
No, but like it's super gross. But like you hear the group singing outside, but then you hear Mia Goth banging on his door, and she's like, "James, I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
With
She's
her
like
British accent.
Yeah, and she goes, "If it'll make you feel any better, I'll go grab the duplicate and let you both do stuff to me."
Slipped there pretty bad.
Yeah, but I'll let you do stuff to me. And I'm like, whoa.
It's like I bet you've never done that before. It's really good. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't blame him for not opening the door there.
And then that's when he grabs the passport that he.
Yeah, so apparently he had his passport the whole time.
Toilet.
Yeah, so I think he liked the first time so much that he wanted to stay because he kind of it gives him a god complex.
Yeah.
And so he reaches under his toilet and finds his passport. So the next day he packs his bags and he hops on this bus, and he's headed to the airport. It's the shuttle to the airport from the resort, and you hear beep, 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 and it's the group pulled up, and Mia Goth's in the car, and she's like, "James, come out, James." And then she pulls out a pistol and decides, oh, let me just shoot at the bus real quick. And that part is like unhinged Mia Goth.
Dude, this
It was
version of Mia Goth,
very well acted.
dude, Mia Goth from here on out, like she killed it earlier, but I love this version of the character because
Yes.
she's just insane.
Because she's very calm and poised at the beginning of this movie,
Yeah.
but once we get here, she's unhinged.
She's psycho. Like,
yeah,
straight
it's
up.
like she's screaming at the top of her lungs, hanging out of the side of this car, holding a pistol, and she's like, "James, you big baby," and like calling him a
coward.
a little baby, a little crybaby, coward,
You little coward crybaby, pees his pants, baby.
bedwetter. That's what she calls him, a bedwetter.
He starts being like real childish insults, and he's like, "Oh, she's right."
And the best part is when he comes off the bus because he's like, "Oh, fine," and she's like, "Jamesy," like, oh man, like the way she like giggles, it's like chills. But yeah, and so they're making him walk all the way back to the resort, following him with the car, and that's when James waits for his opportunity to strike. Mia Goth is sitting on the hood of the car, drinking some wine. She ends up dropping her bottle of wine, and that's when James attacks and tries to get the gun from her, but he doesn't really help himself,
Yeah,
and
but
so he
he
just
sucks.
runs away.
He sucks and gets shot in the
Yeah,
leg.
he really is a little bedwetting crybaby, man.
He really is. I think that's kind of the
As much as I
point.
feel for him, he kind of sucks.
Yeah, no, like then he runs off into the woods,
But
right? Because,
Yeah,
he gets
that's
shot
what it
in the
is.
foot. He's like,
yeah, he runs
"Ah!"
off in the
runs.
woods, and she's just letting shots off, and he gets hit in the leg, and so he's limping around, and so he finds this little farm, and
Passes out.
he passes out, and he just wakes up in a bed, like in the barn or in the house or whatever, and he has like this weird like psychic trip, and he sees the eldest son of the man he killed, and the kid like has like a creepy smile. Does he walk up with a knife?
No,
What
he
does
goes,
he
he
do
goes
to
up and
him?
starts strangling him.
That's what it is. He walks up to him and like puts his hands around his throat and just starts choking him out.
Then he
But
wakes up.
Yeah, then James wakes up. He's like, "Ugh," which part of me wishes that was real, just cause.
He starts strangling. He starts like because it goes to a truck. He goes to a
Oh,
truck,
that's what it
he,
is,
like,
'cause-
rips his face apart in half. You see the influence of his father there.
Yeah, that was a very Cronenberg.
And it's a really cool shot that I liked a lot.
Oh yeah. He wakes up and it's all a dream. He used to read Word Up magazine,
Then he walks outside.
and he walks outside, and shocker,
They found him.
Gabby and the gang are there. Gosh dang it!
No, not more Mia Goth.
But
No.
they made another duplicate of James.
I think that's the same duplicate.
Yeah, because he was all bloodied up.
Yeah,
like
that's
he
the
was all
same
beat up.
duplicate that he had peed and beat up.
Yeah, and they kept calling him Dog, and so
Yeah,
he was like
exactly
on
like
a
a
leash,
dog,
and he kept
yeah.
like growling and barking and walking on all fours.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, James, we're gonna give you one more chance. We thought you were strong. Turns out you're weak. We're gonna give you one more chance to prove that you're not weak and that you're strong like us. And so they're like, get the dog. And basically they're like, kill him or he kills you. And so James originally is like, I don't want to do it. And so he's like wrestling around with his own duplicate. And then just starts laying into him. He eventually he's like, fight or flight kicks in, and James ends up like killing the duplicate, the dog or whatever, for to make it less confusing. He kills the dog.
Now, then what happens next? What does
And
Mia
he's
Goth do
like,
next?
and his whole hand, like to here, like to mid forearm, is just coated in blood, and he just starts weeping. He just starts crying, and Mia Goth walks over, and she's like holding him, like just like caressing him, like just taking care of him, like being there for him, and then she takes her hand and wipes a whole bunch of the blood off of his hand,
Yeah.
and then opens up her shirt.
Starts breastfeeding our boy.
Rubs it on her breast and like starts breastfeeding him, and he's like just into it.
Just chilling.
Like he doesn't stop himself. Like he just like caves apparently.
He's not.
Like,
He is not.
he is so
He
psychologically
really isn't fending
destroyed
off
and
the
broken.
baby allegations. I will say the baby allegations still stand. For
He's
James.
just like so broken and like shattered at this point apparently.
But then everyone just goes home. Just starts going home.
See, that's the weird thing is like that happens, and like James is like crying and acting like a baby.
Yeah.
And then the next day, like, they hop on the shuttle and like it's like literally it's the three couples and then James in the back of the bus. They're not even like sitting together. They're just near each other. And they're just having normal conversation like about their regular day-to-day lives and just completely ignoring what just happened.
Yeah, and then the movie ends with James actually went back to the hotel because it keeps saying it's monsoon season.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Because everything's flooding. And,
yeah,
and so he goes back and he like sits in a chair like with a poncho, a thin little poncho on.
Yeah,
shorts.
that's
and
what it is because he's at the airport.
He drowns to death in the monsoon.
Because he's at the airport and he gets distracted by like this little boy or something.
Yeah.
And like earlier before he got on the shuttle, you see him talking to his wife as he's packing his stuff, and he's like, "I'm so sorry. I'll be home soon later." And like apparently everything's fine between them. But he's at the airport and you hear last call for flight to California to Las Vegas or whatever, or not Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and he's just sitting there and like he kind of like registers it and you're like, "Oh, go get on your flight, James. You got distracted, buddy. You took a little nappy poo." But then he just goes. Next thing, it literally just cuts to him, or it cuts and you see like the rain start all over the resort, just stuff getting rained all over. You see like the chairs on the beach getting washed away. And then you just see James like just sitting in a chair, soaking wet, just pouring down rain, just like staring off in the distance.
It's like definitely like a sad shot, but it's also a really funny shot to look at. Honestly,
yeah, like out of context, I would laugh.
Yeah.
But in the movie, like it's a really good shot, and like it's a really weird concept because like that's the end of it, right? It just cuts after that.
It cuts to like the because also like the beginning credits and the end credits is the straight up just like red screen infinity pool.
Yeah,
Start.
the credits are really cool though.
Yeah.
Like they give like a retro vibe.
Yeah.
For lack of better words.
I liked it.
I feel like an 80s title card, you know, like it wasn't like the words were blending into like whatever was being shot on the camera. It was like literally just like red screen, this like weird black sidebar, and then white letters that had the actors' names. Mm-hmm. But like that's pretty much the gist of the film, and our reactions throughout.
Yeah.
Lots of Mia Goth.
Lots of Gavin, me whispering to.
Oh
Ben,
yeah, this is great.
Lots of me whispering to Ben. I wish Gavin would pull his pants up every time Mia Goth is on screen, and a lot of Gavin screaming across the alleyway.
I didn't scream.
Zach, pull your pants.
Okay.
If I could hear it from 4 people down, it is.
It's because I leaned over Dane to say it.
Okay, you did lean over. So he
It was like
almost yells.
It was like a forced whisper, you know, like
Zach,
yeah, like that.
pull your pants up.
Yeah, like I didn't
every
actually
Mia
yell.
Goth booby scene, every single one.
Well,
it's
because it's funny because we didn't plan this.
See, because he knew he was saying it, I knew he was saying it, but he didn't realize that every time he would say it, right before he would say it, I would say the same thing about him. It was really funny. We were sort of laughing at it.
It
really
was
hard.
very fitting.
That's the only really noticeable reaction that like we didn't bring up during our synopsis.
Well, it's because we kept it a little not extreme, Gavin. English, gosh, we kept it respectful. Now we're talking about the funny stuff.
The funny stuff. So I will say that for when it comes to the point of the movie, I saw a line that I really liked, which it's like, so this whole group, they're all rich. They make money from their own things. So they are rich themselves. They are part of the bourgeoisie, right? James is not. He gets all his money from his wifey poo.
Yeah.
He's not wealthy himself. So he is not like a member of that class.
Yeah. But he wants to be. And a line that I saw is like where everybody else is able to shrug off everything that happened and go home for like just ignoring their sins. James cannot do that. And I think the line was, only a real devil can party in hell without getting burnt. Yeah.
And that's kind of like the point of the movie you get. Because James overall is like, he's a regular dude.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying
he
to
really
party.
is like
he just tried to party with the big boys. And
he's living this wealthy lifestyle just because his wife is.
Because like you can see that how a regular person would be like, oh yeah, guys, isn't this cool that we did all this? And kind of just like trying to party with the big dogs, and then get burnt.
And then turns out it's haunting.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the only real thing I gotta say because I feel like that's kind of like the point. Of the
and
movie,
like,
almost.
and it was great.
Yeah.
That sums it up really well. I'm glad you brought that up.
Now we can make fun of the movie.
Yeah, and well, a really nice thing I really liked how you said after the movie was because we were like, you can definitely tell that that's Cronenberg's kids. Like the practical effects in that film are just gorgeous, even the most uncomfortable scene, you can't knock the fact that the practical effects were done so well, so realistically done, that the fact that I was that uncomfortable, like, is a good thing. And we were talking about, like, how you could, we were like, that's definitely a Cronenberg movie. But I really liked what you said. You said David Cronenberg is all about the mutilation of the human body.
Oh, I've heard I said
whereas Brandon Cronenberg's thing seems to be about the mutilation of the human spirit / mind.
Yeah, and that you definitely see that because, like, by the end of the movie, he's like, "Yeah, man, he's a pretty confident guy at the beginning."
Yeah,
and just trying to, like, "Yeah, man, I'm the big dog writer that you guys are a fan of."
By the end of the movie, he is shaken.
He is shaken. He is destroyed, and assumably he dies at the end in the monsoon. Because assumably if they're closed, the whole place is gonna flood.
Yeah, there's not really any indication that he's gonna survive that.
And I don't think we're going to get an Infinity Pool too. I hope not, because that would really dampen the movie.
No, the next one's called Endgame.
Infinity Endgame Pool. Wow, it's called next movie's called Deadpool. Actually, Marvel reference. Sorry, Brendan isn't here, so I gotta step up my game and be. I gotta get double the amount of cringe jokes in. But
ouch.
Funny scenes. Anything funny? I thought the mouth thing killed me.
Yeah, that had no. What really got me, like, laughing super hard was when he hands him the urn and says, like, it's a souvenir.
It's a souvenir.
And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and I literally look at Robbie, and I have a habit of doing this lately, apparently, which is I talk too soon. I looked at Robbie and I said, surely he's not gonna take it, right? Like, surely he doesn't want that. And then you just see him walking in.
Yeah.
No, another thing that was really funny, which wasn't funny at the same time, was at the very end when he's obviously crushed and, like, the shell of a man, no longer the person he was.
Yeah.
He's packing his suitcase and he packs all 3 urns.
Which if symbolically, because I don't think anybody else is shown to still have their urns at all.
Yeah,
they would have had several.
That's true, because they would have had
I think
many.
it's supposed to represent that he is still bearing the sins that he committed.
Yeah,
unlike them, but also
because he's only human.
It's just so funny. He's like 1 urn, 2 urn.
It would have been really funny if he named them. Like, if you
Jim,
saw one
Bill,
that had
dog.
the word dog written on it.
Yeah. No, it's the movie. It's hard to, like, put it over, because I'm sure when we say it, the movie sounds unhinged, and it kind of is, but it also is a movie that I would if you're a fan of horror, go see it. 100%.
Yeah, if you like horror movies, it's worth the watch.
Or even if you're not a fan, if you want to say a thriller, I guess.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say it's, like, scary. I literally just talked about this, like, a little over an hour ago.
Yeah.
Horror movies aren't like scary anymore. Like, I'm not sitting there shaking in my seat anymore, but a good horror film makes you uncomfortable.
Ooh, my teeth start chittering and chattering, and I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna power wash that lady to death.
Yeah, so a good horror film makes you uncomfortable and or does a great job of paying homage to classics by being a little campy or whatever. Like, the new Evil Dead film looks like a great horror movie, but I doubt I'm going to be sitting there scared, but I'm going to be very uncomfortable. That's the best way I can explain it, but it feels accurate, so I'm going to sit here and play the conceited card and say I'm right.
I'll just agree with you. I don't really have anything to go against you. It's like if now we're talking your opinions on how villains should be, I'll fight you to death on that. But
okay.
But for this, I will. We're starting the argument.
No, we're not starting the argument.
We're starting the argument because I'll end the argument.
Okay, here's what I'm saying. Upon further discussion, upon further thinking,
we should have a poll on the Instagram, like Shedden's poll.
No, okay.
Opinions bright.
Here's my thing. I realized my mistake, and I apologize. I said that all great villains have to be relatable in some way.
If you drop that, that's all. That's the only issue with your claims.
But I was talking about Puss in Boots because I finally watched the movie, and I was talking about how I didn't really like Jack Horner as a villain, because I didn't feel bad for him when he was telling his little sob story.
I love Brendan's reaction. Brendan's like, "That's the." He said some.
He was like, "That's the point."
He said, "That's the some expletive I can't
Naughty
say.
word.
Point. God." And I was like, "Gee whiz!" And you're
But
like,
it wasn't.
No.
But it wasn't though, because literally when asked, he got like super serious about it and talking about it. Like,
Yeah, but that's the point. It's supposed to be. Like, stay with me. It starts with a C
No.
and ends with a Y. What word?
corny.
Comedy.
Oh, comedy.
It's supposed to be a joke,
well,
a funny.
I didn't laugh.
Because then the
I laughed more at the. I think the wolf was funnier than Jack Horner was.
I think the funniest part of that whole movie was the ethical bug.
Yes.
Because that's his name on the cast list. He sounds like Jerry Seinfeld for some reason. He's like, but Jack.
But Jack.
Because like no, the thing here, because the whole time he's like, here's my sad backstory, ethical bug, and the ethical bug's like, is he serious right now? And like, it's
Okay, I'll give you
It's a
that.
setup for the ethical bug.
Okay, I will say though, maybe I'm just mad at John Mulaney right now. Maybe that's what it is.
No, I will say
Maybe that's what it is.
The absolute worst part about the movie is that John Mulaney is Jack Horner. Well, sadly, I have to say John Mulaney does a good job as Jack Horner, which makes me upset because I just don't
It's
like.
just because
the
of
dude for
John
what he did.
Mulaney's recent activity.
I will say I do not endorse John Mulaney, but as a written character, I endorse Jack Horner.
Okay, okay. My thing is like it wasn't that bad. You know, we don't have to turn this into an argument. I guess I should have worded it. I guess I should have worded it better.
With your better wording, I don't disagree with you.
Because my thing is, it doesn't have to be like Killmonger relatable. Because like,
that was funny when I screamed at you. He was like, "Not every villain
Yeah.
has to be Killmonger."
You know what the funniest
we were
thing
having
is?
a heated argument while he was trying to set up speakers.
yeah, you know the funniest thing about that was is I wasn't even going to use Killmonger as an example. I was going to use Namor.
Namor. Kukulkan. We need a
Kukulkan.
soundboard of him saying that.
Oh, I'll get right on that. Next episode, I'll have it.
Tonight, we're gonna have it said.
But no, but my whole thing with it, in general, like, I will say that because I'm not doing a full podcast episode on Puss in Boots. I'm sorry.
No,
But I will say,
I think
since
the only
last
person who had
time-
enough to say anything about that would be me because
Yeah.
I used to just gush and gush.
But I
and
will say
gush.
though, since last time we talked about it, I told everyone that I'd watch it because I was messing with you about talking about it so much. But I will say I do understand Zach's love for it now, which, you know, more power to Zach. He's more of an animation fan than I. But I will say it was a great film. I'm not going to sit here and fall in love with it, but it was very good.
Because you gave it an 8 out of 10.
I said 8 or 9. Depends.
I give it a 9 high on a good day, 9.5. But you know what's going to be a 10 out of 10?
If I went into it as a at the same age that I used to watch Shrek and stuff, I would have loved this film.
That's also,
and it would have been a 9.
My judging of movies kind of goes for what's the intended audience. What's it make? You know, I have a lot of I have a lot more factors than just how much did I like it.
Because
That's
even
why
for an
mine are always
adult,
a
this
little
movie is fun.
That's why my viewings are also a little skewed compared to other people's because I have a lot more factors. Because I'm either way lower than some people write stuff or way higher than some people write stuff because of just how I take into account. But like, you know what? It's going to be a 10 out of 10. Spider-Verse 2.
Oh yeah, I mean Spider-Verse 1 is a 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah, you're right. Spider-Verse 2 is going to be a 15 out of 10.
Pretty much. No, but we're probably gonna have a lot of podcasts set up for this semester within the next 2 months alone, really. Because I mean,
curse you, sports.
It's starting now. Well, it's starting now with Infinity Pool.
Yeah.
And I mean,
we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about.
We're not gonna be done with talking about new movies until probably Evil Dead in April.
We're gonna have to find time to make extra podcasts while also doing the talk show at some point.
Which that won't be too hard.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. But I
expect a lot of content, I guess.
So, you know, that was our review of Infinity Pool. Okay, so before we go though, I do want to ask one last question about Infinity Pool. Mm-hmm. Without watching it again, upon first viewing, what do you rank it out of 10?
Okay, so let me think. Because
specifically from like a horror ranking.
If we're going scary,
no, I meant like just horror movies, not like how you'd rate every film against each other.
Okay, horror. Well,
because horror, I feel like you have to take with a little bit extra grain of salt because you know they purposely do certain things.
I give it an 8.5 or 9.
Yeah,
I think.
See, I give it a 9.5, just because I loved it so much.
I'm just trying to give some breathing room because for the other movies, you know what I mean. end of this year that might change.
Yeah.
If Evil
'Cause,
Dead's
I mean,
bad,
I'm
then I'm
gonna-
gonna give it like a 9.5.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, I'm gonna look at Blood and Honey much different than I did Infinity Pool, because I had higher expectations with quality for Infinity Pool, whereas Blood and Honey I'm going for fun.
We're going into it for fun.
Yeah, whereas Infinity Pool I was
For
like
some
Brandon
giggles.
Cronenberg, he's done stuff like with his dad, like he helped out with Crimes of the Future that came out last year, and so I had expectations upon like quality of it, not necessarily what it's gonna be about. And so he met those and like actually surpassed them.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
I expected at least a semi decent like story to go with great special effects and stuff. But he gave us a phenomenal story
It's a
with
phenomenal
mind-blowing
story,
special effects.
Super suspenseful. You're really on
Yeah,
edge of
like
your
while
like,
you
the whole
won't be
movie.
like while you're not scared, you literally are so
You're
like
super
you're
curious.
almost going crazy. You're so curious as to what's gonna happen. I mean, look at Robbie. He broke and looked up the synopsis.
We broke Robbie Geckler, everybody. We
Yeah.
broke him.
Yeah, but
Broke Knob Dog on Twitter.
well, that's our review of Infinity Pool.
Yeah. I really have nothing else to say. I think I kind of.
Yeah, I think we really hit all the points. Put two people who don't know how to shut up in a room, and apparently it makes a good podcast.
Yeah.
No, but like overall, I think it was a great film. I'm excited for all the other films. We're going to be seeing Knock at the Cabin next. Expect at least a podcast or an article, definitely an article. But expect a podcast on that also probably, because this one is where my weariness actually comes in.
Yeah. 'cause M.
I love
Night-
it. I've said it before. I said it the other day. Like, if you ignore like the really bad films,
Yeah,
specifically
Avatar,
Old and Last Airbender, I just love M. Night Shyamalan. But specifically, even like his flops, I have love for.
That's fair.
Like Signs, not a terrible
Yeah.
film. The ending is just the only thing that to this day makes me mad, just because it had all this build up for Joaquin Phoenix to hit him with a baseball bat. But same with The Village. Like, it was a crazy twist, but I'm mad that there wasn't really monsters there, But expect a podcast on that, or at least some type of mini conversation when we do our live show.
Yeah, or maybe we might turn. It depends on how much we have to say.
We
about
can
it.
combine movies into a podcast.
Yeah, because
if
next week
needed.
we're talking about doing the DC thing
Yeah.
that we had planned for today, but somebody who's
Someone
right behind me in the other room ruined that.
prides their job way too much.
But we're probably gonna talk about that. And we might, and if depending on if we don't have a bunch to say about Into the Cabin, we might just like open up next podcast with like, here's what we think about it. Sorry, that's all we got. So, if the movie was mid, that's what we'll all have to say about it.
I am going to I might jump the shark here a little bit, but I will say I am expecting a halfway decent film. It looks pretty solid. Because I feel like there's no way to completely mess up this twist.
Agreed.
Given the platform is just there. Because it's supposed to be a very suspenseful movie,
Yeah.
and the twist shouldn't come out of nowhere per se.
I'm just excited for Dave Bautista to look like he's wearing clothes 3 times too small for him.
Yes, I'm just excited for Dave.
Because
I'm excited for
he
Dave
looks
Bautista
like
in
he's
general.
he looks like he's wearing clothes built for a Boy Scout, right?
He looks like he's
He's just little glasses. Because his head's so big, the glasses are so small. He's like,
He looks like him and Rupert Grint switched clothes right before they started shooting.
The world will end if you don't die.
That's another thing I'm excited for too. Is Rupert Grint, who played Ron Weasley.
Oh yeah, he's on the
Apparently, according to M. Night Shyamalan, he has a bigger role than what the trailer suggests.
Oh.
And so, like, I'm curious, because I've only seen him in like maybe 2 things since
Good
Harry
for
Potter.
him. Good for him. He
And
needs to
so-
escape Turfland.
I need him to. I want him to get out and about more. Daniel Radcliffe has done a great job at separating himself.
Oh, we got
Along with Emma
we got
Watson.
Farting Corpse. We got did you hear that movie?
Swiss
We
Army
got-
Man.
Yeah, Swiss Army. We got Guns Akimbo. That movie is like a 7 out of 10. But if you're looking
It's
for
fun, though.
wacky factor, 10 out of 10.
We got
I love
Horns,
it.
which
Horns.
is a phenomenal
that show where he plays like some aristocrat or like noble or something.
Oh, that's Miracle Workers.
Miracle Workers,
He
yeah.
plays an angel in season 1, and then he plays a knight in season 2,
Yeah.
or a peasant. I don't remember what he plays, but
He plays something.
Fun-
That's
that's a
what I'm
fun
thinking
show,
about.
though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this has been Shut-Ins Unplugged. I have been Gavin the Chef Cook, and with me was...
I've been Zach Gerchek, also known as DJ Cutie Pie, here on the mic.
Yeah, coined officially. And and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for listening.